Welcome to the Coordinated Chaos Podcast. I'm your host, Georgia, and I'm just your Type B bestie going deep on all things behind the scenes of building a business, women's health, and life's defining moments. Today's episode, it's going to be a bit of a blend. It's a bit of a blend of my experiences and my journey, and also a little bit of a mindset piece. I think a lot of people are going to resonate with this, and that's one of the reasons why when I originally came up for this idea for the episode, I thought that I wanted to talk about it. I know this is something that a lot of people struggle with, and I'm going to tell you all the ways that I have worked on unbecoming a chronic people pleaser. And I also want to make an admission. When I first came up with the idea for this episode, the title was actually going to be Reformed People Pleaser. But what I realized was that that's actually not true, because there are still so many ways that being a people pleaser shows up in my life now, as it always has. So being a reformed people pleaser is not entirely true, because the reality is I'm still a people pleaser. And I always have been. So strap in, because this one's a little bit more serious. It's a little bit more vulnerable, but I think that there will be some really good takeaways if you are someone that resonates with being a people pleaser. Being a people pleaser for all of my life has been a journey of unlearning, unbecoming. And the thing is, with being a people pleaser, you spend your whole life thinking that you must be kind, courteous, agreeable, flexible. And as you grow up and develop into adulthood, somewhere along the way, you've actually learned that it's like being the only way that you can be accepted. One of the biggest themes in my life that repeatedly shows up in everything that I do is everything being tied to my worth. And honestly, it is the bane of my existence. I cannot sit here and say that I have fully overcome this, but I definitely have grown so much, and I actively have to practice calling myself out on this all the time. I avoid conflict to keep the peace. In the past, I've swept things under the rug rather than speak up when I feel bothered. I've held back on sharing my opinion and my knowledge, even with some of the people that I am closest with. I also really struggle with feeling anger and frustration, because somewhere along the way, I learned that those emotions were not acceptable or pleasant. And I mean, who really thinks that conflict, anger, frustration are pleasant? But my personal opinion that has, I guess, changed is that these things are genuinely necessary to feel. And I feel that about all emotions. If you've listened to some of my other episodes, you're probably gathering that now. I'm a feeler. Welcome, Cancerians, to the chat, because this is very much like a Cancer thing. We're sensitive, we're empathetic, we're compassionate. I used to wear my empathy as a badge of honor. And I think that's definitely changed over the years, because I've had to actually, detach from being empathetic, because I could honestly put myself in shoes of absolutely anyone that I crossed my paths with. They could have been a bloody criminal, been in prison, and I would be like, they've had a hard life. And that was to my detriment a lot of the time. Being the caring, understanding, and sensitive one became my whole identity. But that meant having little to no boundaries, always saying yes, even if I want to say no, bending over backwards, and not staying true to yourself just to appease others. Always prioritizing others' needs over my own. Feeling responsible for other people's emotions. Sometimes the truth is going to sting. I never want to let anyone down. And that can be in a lot of different contexts, in the workplace, in your career, in your friendships, in relationships. Massive for me. We've talked about my anxious attachment, and that definitely ties into this as well. Overthinking how you've been perceived in social settings. What did I say last night? Did I upset someone? Is this person cold right now? Are they giving me the silent treatment? Overthinking every little thing that you say or you do in case they have this negative perception of you. A massive one is feeling resentment or feeling taken for granted. I often place so much importance on, I guess, like around rejection is a really big one. When people don't agree with me or they don't want to sign up with me, for example, I definitely have gotten much, much better at this because everyone has reasons, etc. But just not taking those things personally. I also have noticed within myself that when I am feeling frustrated or angry, they come as outbursts of directness, of anger when I'm feeling frustrated. And often this is received far worse than a calmly shared idea. A really big pattern around that I noticed when I really started to actively practice being more direct or more opinionated and sharing how I was actually feeling in the moment is a lot of people would say, what do you mean? Like, you're always the person that is flexible, that's agreeable, that just goes along with it. Or if I have that really direct outburst of anger, I notice that people are like, well, that's not you. Like, why are you being like this? And that is one of the problems with being flexible, with brushing things under the rug, from bending over backwards, from saying yes even when you want to say no. And that's a really big part of why I had to start actively practicing this at a certain point in my life. Because the truth is, when you are agreeable and flexible, you actually gain something from this. You're seen as someone who is easygoing. You're always going with the flow. You're like so chill. You actually get validation. You'll always feel accepted. You're actually rewarded for being the good girl. When you're helpful, you're kind, you're accepted, you actually feel safe, needed, and chosen. And to be honest, it often feels easier than having an opinion because there's less friction when you don't speak up. But you're actually not honest. You're not being honest with yourself. You're not being honest with others. And I think this pattern leads into a lack of good communication because you have so much fear around saying your truth, the truth. You're also blending in. Your opinions, your thoughts, and your beliefs are no longer uniquely yours. And I want to add here too that there's a difference between being closed and open-minded, because I personally really value that I'm open-minded and I listen to others and I take on board feedback, criticism, because I highly, highly value growth and learning new things. So this isn't about being like, it's your way or the highway. But those values should never water down your beliefs or your opinions or your thoughts. And of course, there's a hidden cost to being a people pleaser. I feel like people don't talk about this part enough because you can end up being disconnected from your own needs and your own desires, even your own values, what you like, what you dislike. You end up attracting imbalanced relationships. Always saying yes when you want to say no means that you might attract the wrong people into your life, in friendships, in relationships. You might stay in jobs far too long. And even though there is that secondary gain of feeling validated, you end up feeling misunderstood. End up feeling unseen, even though you're always giving. One-way street. And you quietly are building that resentment within you because you're always feeling like no one's actually hearing what I'm saying. And you know what it ends up being? Well, you end up being burnt out. And you end up being bitter and angry all the time. Overcoming people pleasing isn't always about becoming cold or selfish or angry or bitter. It's making your kindness intentional instead of automatic. Being kind should not be on autopilot. Some ways that you can make this shift without losing your kindness is pausing before you say yes. Slow down. Take a deep breath. And let someone be disappointed without rushing to fix it. My fixers will understand that one. Having more curiosity about what you actually want. This is a huge one, actually. And it does play into a lot of other areas, not just in your relationships and how you show up in life in terms of being a people pleaser. But I think a lot of people lack depth and awareness about what they actually want. Because it's so easy to go with the flow and be a part of your environment. But at the end of the day, you're never going to reach any of your big dreams or goals if you don't actually know what you want. And you do need to take the time to fully understand yourself, understand your vision, where you want to go in life, and the things you want to achieve. And I think a lot of people are, like I said, rushing. Slow down, take time, reflect, journal, meditate, spend time with yourself, spend time in solitude, spend time in silence. And this is also tying into my opinion about loneliness as well. I really value being alone. And even when loneliness feels hard, I think it has so much beauty in it because it allows you to connect back to yourself even better than you ever have before and really understand what you actually want. The shift also looks like realizing that being liked does not equal being safe. Because what's better than being completely, authentically yourself? Probably not pretending to be someone else or liking things that you don't like. That's actually creating a lack of trust within yourself. Because you're constantly just being like, oh, no, I don't like that thing. Oh, I actually do really like that thing. But you're not telling that. You're not verbalizing that. You're not putting that out to the world because you don't trust yourself enough to have your own opinions, your thoughts, your beliefs. And that is it's a one-way track to not trusting yourself, losing confidence, and never doing anything really hard or taking risks. The truth is, you can be compassionate, empathetic, kind, courteous, agreeable, flexible without abandoning yourself. Slow down, take a deep breath, take a minute before you respond. Let the people around you disagree with you. I promise you, if you just try this, implement it, you will see that when you do it in a way that's not abrasive or aggressive, the people will understand you. And if they do not understand where you're coming from, if you deliver it with kindness, softness, gentleness, they're not your people. So we're going to wrap the episode up. It's a nice quick one today, but I have a prompt for you that you can go away and journal. What is something that you would stop doing tomorrow if disappointing someone else didn't feel dangerous? Thank you so much for joining us. If you've liked this episode, please leave me a comment. If you felt like you resonated with it, you want more episodes that are similar to this, or there's another topic you'd like me to talk on, leave a comment, send me a DM, and we'll see you in the next episode of the Coordinated Chaos podcast. Bye.